welcome back to the Fandom Zone podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Charles Skaggs, back in the Fandom Zone once again, ready to talk the WandaVision finale, the series finale, as we're told. And I'm joined by my wonderful co-hosts, wonderful friends, and just all around wonderful people. DJ Nick and Jesse Jackson. How you doing, guys?
I am great.
See what I did there?
Yes, I did like that. So someone set their alarm early on Friday morning and got up early to watch this before work. Mm-hmm. That's how excited I was. I almost thought
So you
about
did the Holly Mack move, essentially.
Yes, I almost did too. Like, I was thinking, is it 12 o'clock Eastern time? Like, I could stay up. And then it's like, no, it's noon. I mean, it's midnight Pacific time, which would like 2 or 3 in the morning Dallas time. I'm like, no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
But I did get up early and watch it, and so I'm ecstatic to talk about this with you guys.
All right. How about you, Nick?
Well, I'm doing fantastic. Super looking forward to discussing this finale, which I have thoughts on. Let's just put it that way. Happy, but I have some thoughts. But really enjoyed it. I actually tend to be an early bird. So when this dropped at 6 a.m. over here, I actually was there to watch at 6 o'clock in the morning while I was enjoying my coffee with my Infinity War mug. So I was happily sitting down and watching it. And it was it definitely was a great start to the day for sure. So definitely looking forward to unpacking this finale with a lot of things to discuss for sure. And what about you, Charles?
Well, this is I must be the odd person out here because my wife Lori, we were very patient. We waited until dinner time so we could do our Five Guys Friday watching WandaVision. So we go out for Five Guys Burgers, which is a burger chain over here in the United States.
Delicious burger.
Yeah, exactly. My only concern about this finale is that, it's just a lot of it was so much setup for Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. So consequently, I don't think we got, at least, and this is how I feel, maybe you guys feel differently, or maybe you agree with me, that it wasn't handled as well as it could have been because of having to play the corporate synergy game. With the whole Kevin Feige trying to line things up, sets up some things for down the road that we didn't get maybe the conclusive endings that we probably should have had this been a very standalone series as opposed to a Marvel Cinematic Universe series. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, I think you do make a good point there, Charles, because I do feel that, and when we do get to certain characters, we can, of course, elaborate. But I do think there were certain characters that were not given their due, and that some were probably, which maybe should have had more focus, did not get enough focus. And there were also some situations where there might have been a cop-out, and, we will talk about that cop-out later. And, I know once again our friend Christine Peruski felt very strongly about this particular cop-out, and I'm sure our listeners out there know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And,
well, if you know Christine, she feels strongly about a lot of things. So
this is true. A woman,
and I say that as a compliment. That she does. She's a very passionate person in that regard.
Yeah, a woman with some very strong opinions. No, but other than that, I would define this episode as clean and ribbon wrapped. That's the way I'm bow tied. That's the way I see it. Because
bow ties are cool, just saying.
Bow ties are very, very cool, as our 11th Doctor has taught us, for sure. But that's the thing. It was very clean. It was a very clean ending, which I think echoes the thought that you put out of being kind of the whole corporate setup, is they wanted a clean ending. As in, let's make everything very simple as possible so we can move on to the next project. And but in doing so, I think it wasn't as balanced as maybe one hoped. And 49 minutes, I think, was not possibly enough for a finale.
But we do get a lot of loose ends because they're unanswered questions and things.
Correct, but
we'll talk about those. Yeah. How about you, Jesse?
I was really, really happy with this, and I felt like I leaned more toward Nick's side. I thought this was really well done as a one and done. And then as a bonus, with the mid-credit and final credit scenes, that's when they connected to the other. But as far as if they had left those out, I think in a lot of ways this could be a very good self-contained miniseries that told the story, which would want us wanting more, but most miniseries do. I really like this a lot, and I think I've done a lot of reading on this, and And I think a lot of noise from the fandom is not focusing on what the series gave us, but what they didn't give us. In other words, because they had expectations of other things happening, it didn't happen, therefore they're disappointed. But I go, no, they're telling the story they want to tell, and I think it's a damn good story. Yeah. So I'm very happy with this, and I was very pleased.
Well, but this show, I think, kind of like what happened when Lost was on the air, ABC's Lost, if you remember that fans would keep coming up because this show was so open to speculation. It embraced the concept of fan speculation, that essentially fans would come up with their own theories. Like, we did here on this podcast on the Phantom Zone.
Yes.
We had our theories, that some of them turned out, some of them didn't turn out, and that's okay. But the problem is that a lot of fans, they built it up in their heads and their imaginations for this big, huge thing, and when it doesn't happen, they're let down by that. It feels like they set the bar so high in their own heads, their own headcanon, that the TV show is ultimately going to fall short because it's not going to live up to those fan expectations.
It's impossible to do so.
Yeah.
And I remember reading an interview with Carlton Cuse and Damon Lindelof. And by the way, for the record, I was happy with the Lost finale. I know they weren't dead the whole time. I understood the concept.
I hated season 6. I'm just saying. Yes.
Yeah, but as they said in an interview, we taught our audience how to watch us, and to watch us was all these theories and seeing everything, correct?
Yeah.
And I think, a couple of things that, our leads made comments that were, Elizabeth Olsen said something that people took and ran with, and Paul Bettany said something that went and run with, and then after the fact, they're kind of, okay, sorry, we didn't mean to start that ball rolling. And I don't know if you saw, but there was a wonderful interview with Emma Caulfield Ford talking about how much fun it was to be a red herring.
Yes, I did. And I think that's exactly what happened with her character.
Yeah.
That I think, especially me, I think I fell for it.
I did too.
Because I thought, it seemed like she was going to be much more important than she turned out to be, because it was a red herring. It was intended to be like, hey, pay attention to this. And I did.
I remember us saying, and I think all three of us agreed, there's no way you cast Emma Caulfield unless there's going to be a bigger payoff. And you know what? Surprise, that we bought it. And I thought that was great, and she talked about how much she loved that.
Yeah.
So,
but she also did, apparently, I actually read that interview myself, Jesse, and apparently she was incredibly apologetic to the fans, because she said, I'm sorry if they feel that way, but she has nothing to apologize for, because she is doing her job.
No, she doesn't, but she might be getting some hate from fans online,
for no reason.
For no reason, because sometimes, let's face it, fans are dicks.
Yes, exactly.
And they don't behave themselves like they should, like mature people. But
if anything, yell at the writers, but don't do that. But
I mean,
she didn't write the story.
The actors are just the people hired to act out what they're told to in the script and by the direction. So why are you going after actors? I never understand that.
I don't either.
If anything, vent your frustration to the directors or the writers, because they're the people who are, writing and directing the story. The actors are, players that strut and fret on the stage, as Shakespeare would say. So that's what they do. They don't have nothing to do with the creative process.
Exactly. Yeah, it's kind of been a personal beef with me about that.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So, like I said, we're talking, obviously, the series finale, the 9th and presumed final episode of WandaVision. Although, hey, it wouldn't surprise me if after, say, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness and Captain Marvel, if we get maybe another season of WandaVision down the line. Wouldn't surprise me. We'll see.
And Kevin Feige in an interview, said that. He said that right now, no, but he said we leave everything open. The way the Marvel Universe works now is that we can, what is the best format to tell the story?
Yeah.
You know, is it in a TV show? Is it in a movie? Is it a series of movies? And so I think so.
Yeah, I mean, especially after gauging the reaction to this, that it seems like they would at least want to explore the idea of a season 2 based on this, the popularity of this. And then this was aired just a couple days ago on March 5th, 2021, as we're discussing it here 2 days later. Written by Jack Schaefer, who previously wrote the season opener, filmed before a live studio audience. So essentially, Jack Schaefer got to bookend the season, or series, if you will. So that was kind of nice. Directed once again by Max Shackman. This one was 49 minutes, like I believe Jesse said, and is the longest running of the WandaVision episodes. So they saved the longest for last. Although it probably could have been more, let's face it.
Yeah, so I have a question. I don't remember if you brought this up in the previous 8 episodes.
Yeah.
That he directed all of these, and, you know, he was an actor in a sitcom, Just the 10 of Us.
Yeah.
I don't remember if you brought that
up.
No,
I don't believe I brought that particular bit of trivia up. No.
I had not thought that, and they kind of brought the fact that he was, you know, he played JR in the sitcom for all 47 episodes. So they said it's kind of funny. He's gone on to be a pretty good director, but his roots were acting in a sitcom, which made him one of the reasons why he was really good at directing the series.
Yeah. Okay. Guest cast, just really quickly, all we really had as a major addition in this one was Lori Livingston as the Skrull agent at the very end. And we are definitely going to talk about her when we get to our 4th topic and talk about those mid-credits and post-credits bonus scenes. Mm-hmm. Trivia. The Darkhold. Wondering a little bit about the Darkhold? Well, in Marvel Comics lore, it's a fictional grimoire that first appeared in 1972's Marvel Spotlight number 4 and was originally authored by a guy named Chthon, kind of like Cthulhu, Chthon, a demonic elder god who was Earth's first practitioner of black magic. And Chthon wrote all of his collected knowledge of magic into iron-bound scrolls that were later bound into the most potent book of black magic in existence. Interestingly, though, if you're a Marvel Cinematic Universe fan, obviously, well, the Darkhold appeared in Season 4 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where it was found by Momentum Labs workers Joseph Bauer and his wife Lucy, who used it in their research to create matter from nothing. Then, it turned up later in Season 3 of Runaways, and there it was where the sorceress Morgan Le Fay, yes, that Morgan Le Fay from Arthurian literature, that, at least the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or the Marvel version of that character, planned to use its knowledge to conquer Earth following her escape from the Dark Dimension. So now the question has been in certain fan circles, well, does the Darkhold's appearance in the proper MCU negate the shows like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Runaways? Or are those actually in the same continuity? And that's kind of like a fan debate going on right now. Personally, I'm of the argument that, well, the Darkhold being the Darkhold could have appeared in all 3.
Yeah.
And being the same Darkhold.
I agree.
So that's my take. I don't know about you, Nick.
Yeah.
Or Jesse.
Yeah, or in Christine has a great theory of a magical photocopier. So they are actually multiple copies of the Darkhold kind of running around the MCU. That was kind of fun, but that's sort of the humorous side, I think. So after all, it is a magical tome, so it can pretty much go all over the place. It's not Collins English Dictionary. It kind of can go all over the place.
Well, let's keep in mind also that Phil Coulson was a character that has appeared both in the proper MCU and also on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Exactly. So no, I think it is still canon.
Along with Sif has appeared on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and
Nick Fury has appeared on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right? Yep. So as far as I'm concerned,
so I don't think it negates it by any stretch of the imagination.
No, I don't think there's anything that would would erase that from continuity. So,
No.
as far as I'm concerned, debate over. But I just thought I'd mention it. The scene of the Visions shedding a single tear, I thought I'd mention, is a nod to the 1968 Avengers issue story, Even an Android Can Cry, which is a classic from the Silver Age Marvel Comics, written by Roy Thomas and John Buscema. And so I thought I'd mention that. I have a picture right here in my Marvel Masterworks volume of that scene that's being referenced. So Jesse, being DC guy, will now understand the reference. I'm holding it up to the screen for all of you there in podcast land who obviously can't see that. So I thought I'd mention it. And only other thing I had was the scene where WandaVision, Billy and Tommy come together to, when they get in the town square and they join forces to fight as a superhero family. Well, that's a big nod to a scene that's very similar in The Incredibles, which, hey, is another Disney movie, right? So,
yes.
Which was also referenced in previous episodes as well, because it was actually one of the movies on the marquee.
Yeah, no surprise there. So, but just thought I'd mention that. Anybody got any other trivia they want to share before we move on? Okay. All right. Yeah, pretty simple this week. Topic number 1. Let's talk about Agatha and the Scarlet Witch. So at long last, Wanda fully embraces her identity as the Scarlet Witch, although turns out, at least now in as far as what WandaVision has presented, it's got some rather ominous overtones and apparently a sense of destiny for what Wanda is expected to do. As in ending the world, no big deal. I guess we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But I want to get everybody's thoughts on this final showdown between Agatha and the Scarlet Witch and the way it was resolved with, Agatha meeting a very interesting fate. So, Jesse, you want? I can start with you first on this one.
That sounds great.
Okay.
So one of the things I found interesting is the question is, does Agatha want to protect the world from the Scarlet Witch, or does she just want the power for herself? She tries to say, oh, we've got to worry because you're doing it. But the reality is she just wants the power herself. That's her thing, right? She takes, I didn't write down that quote.
Yeah, I've got the quote,
okay.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed the battle between these two mythical witches, right? The back and forth, sometimes Agatha had the upper hand, sometimes Wanda had the upper hand. A truly great back and forth. And I was slightly a little disappointed in the previously on. They talk about the scene of, oh, you can only a witch who cast her runes. So then
instantly that, that's going to come into play in this episode.
Yeah. I mean, and that's a very small nitpick because
a lot of shows do that. It's frustrating for me because I'm like, oh, here's this reference to this something obscure that was mentioned several episodes ago. So here's the payoff, I guess.
Yeah, and it was a great payoff.
Yeah.
I mean, I really love seeing by the way, I know it was awesome seeing Wanda in her full Scarlet Witch costume, but I think she rocks a hoodie. I just think I love that look of her with the hoodie and up in the sky and back and forth. I adored the fighting. And then once again, I'm reading people complaining about how they ended up with Agatha, but I thought that was perfect because it's kind of putting her in a place, and that way, if you don't go back and get her ever again, no big deal. but she's there if we want her in the future.
Yes.
For some reason, we have not gotten a character off the board. We've got them kind of aside, and if we decide we need them for a season 2 or a future movie, we have that character available. So check marks all the way around for these two characters and the interactions.
Yeah, so you were happy with the fact that they didn't kill off Agatha, because some shows and I agree with you, because I get frustrated that a lot of shows they'll just race to kill off the bad guy,
yes,
not thinking, well, hey, maybe we could have this character back at some future point.
And one of the things that I really liked,
looking at you, Batman movies.
I really want to hear y'all's thoughts, but I love the idea that they were interviewing Kathryn Hahn, and they said, do you have to do a different style of sitcom acting? And she said, yes. In fact, I watched myself and I said, oh my gosh, that's me right out of acting school, overacting.
Right.
She's like, I saw young me in that role. Like, oh, that's how I used to do it. And so it's fun. And I don't know if you guys saw that. I love the idea. It was Agatha all along. They filmed every piece of that as it was going along. This, so that way they had all the different sets. She's a joy, and it's too good of a character and too great of an actress to get rid of.
Yeah.
So I love the idea that they didn't let her all go off scot-free, and then to have her go, "Heidi, neighbor, oh, is it just me, or are you looking hot?" Was just a great way to kind of tie it back. How about you, Nick?
Well, when it comes to me, to once again piggyback off your point there, Jesse, the whole fact of, you saying that we see something which then gets used later on. Just like going back to acting school, one of the first things that we were taught, we came to me at university when we studied cinematography and all this kind of thing, is of course a dramatic principle known as Chekhov's gun, where basically you will see something which will then reappear later on. Of course, it's become, just like a MacGuffin.
You don't introduce it unless you expect to use it at some point.
Exactly.
And
that's
it is
right.
like a MacGuffin. I can't tell you how often we have brought up Chekhov's, lamp, or
Yes.
in this episode or in other ones we talked about. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just like the microwave in the Doctor Who finale of The Timeless Children, or the Christmas finale of the Doctor Who, the recent one.
Yes.
With they have the microwave. That's another example which some folks actually dubbed Chekhov's microwave. But yeah.
You mean the Revolution, the one before the past one?
Correct. Yes.
Or Resolution. That's the one I'm thinking.
Resolution of the Daleks. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
But yeah, aside from that, the fact that obviously Agatha is then victim to her own teachings, so she inadvertently, even though she's a villain, she has actually taught Wanda something. So she has fulfilled that role, whether she liked it or not. And of course, then Wanda it's incredible. I will hand it to Scarlet Witch and Wanda for being such a quick study. I will give her that, because she learns on the spot to do this stuff. So definitely kudos to being able to master all this stuff in the space of one battle. So definitely,
Well, we know that she had talent, and
yes.
Agatha was like, you've got the power.
Mm-hmm.
You just need the knowledge.
That's right.
So it's to Wanda's credit that her skill, she has this natural skill and the ability to learn.
She's a very fast learner.
Very quickly, yeah. And something obviously we're going to talk about a little bit when we get to our bonus scene topic.
Yeah, which is absolutely beautiful.
Because she's like hoovering up dark knowledge.
Yeah, and we definitely will have a lot to say about that one. When it came to the battle of, should we say, the witch battle, if you will, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good fun. It wasn't drawn out too long. Maybe, if you wanted to, if you only have 49 minutes to play with, you maybe could have made it slightly shorter and focused on other things.
Right.
But I enjoyed it nonetheless. And I'm so glad that we did not get rid of Agatha Harkness for all intents and purposes, because, as it kind of reminded me of, to go on to the other side of the barricade to DC, when the Joker was first created in 1940, they were actually thinking of killing him off. But then they changed their plans completely and said, no, he's too good of a villain to get rid of. And so that's why, obviously, the Joker remained.
No, they just kill him off repeatedly and then only for him to turn up later.
But I actually believe that at the time...
thinking that he's dead. Oh, no, he's not dead.
Yeah, no, but I believe actually the thing was that at the time, Kane and Finger actually were thinking of doing him like a throwaway character and not keeping him. But I'm glad they didn't kill the Agatha Harkness off like they have also done with a lot of MCU films where a lot of villains have just had their one movie and we never see them again. Other than that, I really enjoyed it, and I have to say I love the Scarlet Witch costume. It's absolutely fantastic because. Of course, we couldn't have what we had in the comics, but it's close enough to being
we got the homage during the Halloween episode.
Yeah, so I mean, it's close enough, and I think it's way more practical as well because you don't want to be fighting in battle with such an unpractical costume when you're especially zooming around and all this kind of thing. I also think of practicality. I mean, it's just something that I kind of think of. But
you mean you can't go into battle with just like a swimsuit that has like maybe just very thin strings around the shoulders holding it up?
Yes, exactly. And
Go figure.
yeah, and no, for sure. I mean, you can wear that at
very
the Emmys.
Very thin shoulder straps, I should say.
That's something you could wear at the Emmys. I could see somebody like Cher wearing at the Oscars, for example. but other than that, I loved it, and yes, it was just the special effects were really good. I liked the CGI, and not to mention the fact that at the moment when Wanda's surrounded by the people of Westview.
Right.
And they are kind of turning on her, and or rather she feels haunted by them because, you ruined our lives and, you destroyed our lives. And you see there's a look of despair on her face because she didn't mean for any of this to happen.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful to see her come into her own. And it really is, I think, a coming of age story as well in this film, aside from her dealing with, of course, grief. It's also, I think, a coming of age for the character of the Scarlet Witch. And Darkhold, I want a copy of the Darkhold. I just really want the prop because the drawings are so cool.
Not the actual Darkhold? You don't want to. You want all that arcane dark knowledge.
Well, I wouldn't mind it, but I don't know. It would be hard, with all that power. I would mess up the world more than I'd actually want to. But no, if there is a prop out there, I definitely would love to get to have my hands on the prop because the drawings in there are so cool, and I love also the references we got to the Sorcerer Supreme. I thought that was fantastic and really made me very, very happy to hear you're even more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme. So I like that a lot.
Yeah. Even though we didn't get a lot of fans were expecting at least a quick Doctor Strange cameo setting up. Yeah.
I suppose that was the cameo that we got when she just mentioned the Sorcerer Supreme. That's when my eyes obviously lit up when I heard that, and it was great to hear. And also, it debunked the whole thing of mutants once again, because here it's all about that she is magic, and it's all a question of magic, just like Doctor Strange. So I think folks might have been a little bit upset about that too, that it's not a mutant power, but it is literally magic.
And, I know, first off, a couple of things. One, I now want Elizabeth Olsen to wear a kind of sort of Scarlet Witch dress to the 2021 Emmys. If they're actually not virtual anymore. So you were talking about doing that. I want to see that. I will tell you, I thought even at the very end and I know we're going to talk about that, but I thought just for a moment when the camera goes to the back that we might have saw Doctor Strange there and like, oh, that's the cameo.
I think a lot of us were waiting for him just kind of like to walk out of that cabin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was okay we didn't get it. I mean, I was happy with the thing the way it was, and I know we'll talk a little bit about that more.
Yeah, we'll talk more.
So, Charles, how about you?
Yeah, I love like you guys talked about the battle between Agatha and the Scarlet Witch. I thought that was very well handled. I agree with you, Nick. I thought it lasted just long enough because really, how long can you watch people throwing energy bolts at each other?
Yes.
Before it gets a little tiresome and repetitive. Now, I also did like like one of the conclusions when Agatha they do this great nod to the Wizard of Oz, where it's the nod where with the Wicked Witch of the East's boots. You get to see those boots, and there was a great nod to that. under Dorothy's family's house.
Yeah, and the RV, right? There were feet sticking out.
Yeah, that was great. So I thought that was a great little nod. But Kathryn Hahn, Kathryn Hahn is I don't think she gets enough attention because Elizabeth Olsen is so damn good on this show.
Yes.
So as far as I'm concerned, she should be nominated for, or at least considered for, a Best Supporting Actress Emmy.
I absolutely
in a
agree,
drama
Charles.
series because she showed a lot of range. That she did the comedic, she's done the dark. And, once Agnes is revealed as Agatha Harkness, and just the simple fact of the terror, I think that we see her in when Wanda finally gets the upper hand as the Scarlet Witch and basically says, okay, well, I'm going to punish you and put you in this nice little timeout here in Westview as the role that you were, you chose to play, the nosy neighbor.
And Kathryn Hahn has never played this kind of role. She's been
for everything. There was a first time.
Absolutely, and I think she talked about how much she enjoyed it. Her son was really into the Marvel Universe,
yeah.
So she went to him like, "Okay, tell me what I'm doing." I thought she was really charming, and so I agree. I very seldom do genre shows get nods at the Emmys, but I absolutely agree that supporting actress, she brought it. When you think about the range that she brought, really, really wonderful.
Yeah. She's going to be an actress to watch, I think, and we'll see what happens. And hopefully she'll make a return to the MCU down the line, whether it's in WandaVision Season 2 or something else. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Anything else about this topic?
The only thing I wanted to add, Charles, is I definitely hope that they will get some nods Emmy-wise. In an era where a film like Black Panther can be nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars, I think one can also do something similar when it comes to TV. Granted, it will probably be a long time before a superhero-themed anything, be it TV show or movie, actually wins, those kind of awards.
Well,
superhero proper.
That might have been the case, but then Watchmen happened, if you recall correctly.
No,
Watchmen won a ton of Emmys.
No, I agree, but I'm saying superhero movie or show proper, as in a Marvel thing, which is really, because Watchmen, goes way beyond that as well. Okay. I think it tackles very, very harsh subjects at the same time, which probably is why it got considered. That's my main thing. But I just think if Black Panther can get nominated, I don't see why at the Oscars. Right. I don't see why WandaVision can't be. Outside of that, it is going to be really interesting to see where we go from here. And I certainly do hope that Agatha Harkness does make a return. Hey, maybe in the Doctor Strange sequel, it would be kind of cool to see her there.
I think that would be very cool, especially at some point that for whatever reason that the Scarlet Witch needs Agatha for whatever reason, and we pick up on that. That she kind of reverses the spell enough to get whatever information she needs from Agatha at some point. We'll see.
The only other thing I actually wanted to ask you, Charles, because I know you were talking about this quite a bit on our previous episode. Are you happy about the whole fact that it is all mainly ingrained in magic and it's not possibly a mutant thing, or are you cool with that?
That was certainly the implication, but I don't see where it was really, clear-cut negated, because they did talk about how essentially she had this power naturally. Now, but the question is, was it a magical power that was within her all along, or was it something else? And so it's kind of very nebulous. I think it's something that if you wanted to explore it as a mutant power, you could, or if you want to just continue with saying that she was just magical all along, you could go that route too. But my only thing is that with both Wanda and Pietro having powers, and Pietro's powers not being magical in nature, it does make more sense that they would both be mutants, I think. Oh,
no, totally. I mean, it's just, and as you said, they do leave a kind of a nebulous enough for if other writers do step in, they can rewrite it saying, actually, no, it's not magic. She's actually a mutant.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe they're just trying to keep it, maybe tease the possibility for now until they come out with, because we know there's there was an article that was apparently on the I think it was the Illuminati or something like that, that talking about there's going to be a mutants movie called The Mutants.
So I've heard.
Supposedly, I don't know how true this is. It could just be speculation on somebody's part, but that supposedly this would be the movie that introduces mutants to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Plus, if this is supposed to be a prelude to the Doctor Strange sequel, it would make sense they would keep it rooted in magic for that reason.
Right.
Almost being like, if it were like comics, it would be like the prelude issue to a bigger story arc.
Yeah, and why complicate it? Yeah.
And I know I was reading that before COVID that this was going to come out, and like Doctor Strange would have come out very quickly afterwards.
Right.
Like this was like a month or later, or like a very short time where you would immediately be able to go to the theater and see the Doctor Strange. But because of COVID, everything changed around.
Yeah.
So now that we have a longer wait to kind of see the follow up of this.
Yeah, we're not supposed to get Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness until this is the current version.
Yeah.
Because hey, it could always be delayed again.
Yeah.
March 25th, 2022.
Yeah, in fact, I heard it was exactly a year from now.
So that's like, a year from now. So, a little bit of a wait there because, they keep pushing back Black Widow, which creates this domino effect of, well, hey, we got to push back all the other Marvel movies that are lined right up behind it.
Well, look at the TV shows. Falcon and Winter Soldier was supposed to come out before this.
Yeah.
Correct.
And that obviously I think screwed up the schedule because had WandaVision come in second as planned or third, it would have been much closer to that release date.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
No, we're good.
Moving on. Topic 2. Let's talk Vision, the White Vision, and the end of WandaVision. So I want to talk the big clash between Wanda's version of the Vision, the reanimated corpse, that kind of thing, versus the White Vision, who was introduced at the very end of last episode in that post-credit scene. And I also want to talk about the kind of fallout from these, Agatha versus the Scarlet Witch and also Vision versus the White Vision, and how Wanda's decision to bring down finally the Hex and reach that acceptance stage in these 5 stages of grief, where she accepts Vision's death, lets him go, and also lets her children go in the process. Yeah. So, Nick, I'll start with you first, obviously. What are your thoughts on Vision versus Vision and what happens afterward?
Okay, well, first off, starting with Vision versus Vision, it did, of course, play into the whole
Vision
tongue-in-cheek.
squared. Yeah,
that's right. It did play into the whole tongue-in-cheek comment that Paul Bettany had said that he was looking forward to playing.
Maybe double vision. How's that? Double vision.
Double vision,
I like
even
it,
better.
yes. Double
even
vision,
better.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously, here's one of the various, should we say, teases or tongue-in-cheek things that they were messing with us. The Paul Bettany was saying, I can't wait to finally be acting alongside this wonderful actor, and of course it is himself, and which was fun. And the Vision fight was also very well choreographed. It didn't go on too long, and it was interesting to see. When they actually then meet up and have that whole conversation about the ship of Theseus,
yes,
it did remind me of a Simpsons episode where the Simpsons go to Israel. The title of that movie, that episode, is the greatest story ever told, yes. And basically the scene is Bart and Lisa go into a cinema in Israel, and they watch a film about 2 giant robots fighting. 2 giant Jewish robots, I should add, fighting.
Got it.
And at one point, one robot says to the other, "We cannot fight on the Sabbath. Let us meditate with the Torah." And they basically sit down and take out the Torah scrolls and start speaking Hebrew to each other.
Right.
And basically philosophizing. And that's literally what happens here.
Yeah.
Because the two literally philosophize on that amazing concept, which is the ship of Theseus. And folks, when you can finally see your friends again and get a couple of drinks going, throw out the ship of Theseus thing, and some very interesting conversations can be had over that one concept.
Because essentially that's identity metaphysics.
Yes.
See, because I'm kind of a philosophy buff. So essentially, for those who don't know, metaphysics is the philosophical discussions about the nature of reality, which is perfect for WandaVision, right?
Of course.
So essentially, the ship of Theseus argument obviously is, since you brought it up, I thought we'd address it.
Sure.
That essentially it's like if you have this artifact, this ship of Theseus, and the wood is rotting, and you have to replace the boards in the ship, is it still the ship of Theseus?
Exactly.
That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, and then, in fact, that's what I'm saying is, if you have a couple of drinks going, it can get really interesting when it comes to that whole concept.
Right.
But yeah, I thought it was a curious way to get the two visions, shall we say, to literally power down and talk it out.
Yeah.
And look, I thought it was actually maybe an interesting departure from the typical, two characters duking it out until one of the two prevails.
Yeah.
And here it was literally, we are sophisticated beings. Let's discuss this. And so they literally do that. And,
it was very unlike a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie in that regard.
Yeah, and I think it might have, no pun intended, flown over certain kids' heads of, what are they talking about?
Why aren't they fighting? I'm sure a lot of fanboys were like, well, they were fighting and then they stopped and now they're talking. What is this?
Yeah, and I love the fact that, there's almost a passing of the torch from one vision to another, possibly because Vision, the OG Vision, knows that he might eventually no longer exist, and he is actually passing on his knowledge to, it's almost, as I said, literally a passing of the torch, because for all we know, of course, this White Vision does survive, because he basically says, I am the Vision, and flies off.
Right.
And so for all intents and purposes, there is still a Vision zooming around the world.
Yeah.
So
that's essentially another thing that's kind of left hanging, is that there's this White Vision out there, and the question is now, well, what happens to that White Vision that has now suddenly regained his memories of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, for lack of a better term?
It will be curious to see whether he does, at some point him and Wanda cross paths again. I assume they will. And, going back once again to the Doctor Strange sequel, rumor does have it that Paul Bettany will make an appearance in that film. Granted, possibly a small part, they say. Those are the rumors. Okay. But that he may make a small appearance. So I have a feeling that's what will happen. But
my speculation is obviously that Wanda goes full dark Scarlet Witch.
I think so too.
Because of
seeing also the end credits. Especially.
Yeah, and Vision would probably be the one that's brought in, having regained his memories, at least some semblance of the being he used to be, to help try to talk her down and snap her out of it.
I think he'll knock some sense into her.
Yeah, that's my guess anyway.
He will be Xander to Dark Willow.
Kinda, yeah.
Okay, there we go. All right.
I think,
or Cyclops to Dark Phoenix. How's that?
Yeah. I can almost see it now, Charles. That's what's going to happen. Multiverse of Madness. Doctor Strange is like at the end of his tether. It's like you might listen to this person. Snaps his fingers and like, hello, Wanda. Da, 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 and all that kind
Special guest star Paul Bettany. Da, 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 da.
I can so see that. But no, outside that, it was fun that we got the whole the ship of Theseus concept. And yes, we did have Vision kind of that's part dangling. But outside of that, it was great. And I thought the whole White Vision concept was well done. What I'm kind of a little bit upset about is Mr. Hayward, who I think probably deserved a little bit more of an arc rather than just being turned out to be.
Yeah, we'll talk about Hayward in our third stop.
Yeah. No, but I was just kind of in tying with White Vision, obviously, because he set White Vision onto
the way his plan didn't really get fleshed
out.
Come to
fruition, exactly. Yeah. It was a bit odd. No, but other than that, I really enjoyed the whole fight and the whole and when it comes to Wanda ostensibly bringing her world to an end, it kind of was like what we had speculated in the previous episode. This is acceptance in her own way, rather than destroying Vision, as I dramatically and negatively put out there. She does it on her own terms, as in she says goodbye to everybody in a very tear-jerking and sad moment. Yeah. And I think because she accepts that she can't live in the past and that she can't live, because she realizes that you have to move on, and obviously it closes the whole arc of the degrees of grief. Yeah. And that's how she moves on. It's very sad that she obviously says goodbye to the boys as well, but we will discuss more about the boys when we get to the post-credits
or
scene.
has she, ... question mark.
Exactly, or has she, correct.
Yes.
But no, the whole thing of this advancing red wave arriving, it was beautifully executed.
And it brings up that great dramatic tension because you're waiting for this thing to come. Like this climactic moment, and it's just this slowly moving plot device.
Your world is becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. They did a great job of cinematically showing that. And
Jesse.
Yes.
Yeah, Jesse, what are your thoughts on this?
I loved the. I think we got the best of both worlds. We saw them flying in the sky. We saw them, hitting each other and phasing through each other and beams shooting out. And then, and I actually thought a little bit beforehand that I said, these are mirror images of each other. And, I was trying to do a little search, and maybe you might remember, Charles or Nick, where it was one of the crossover episodes where two of a Marvel or a DC character looked at each other and they in their mind figured out the fight, and then okay, yeah, that would happen, and it didn't happen. I for some reason I remember that.
In the DC versus Marvel crossover.
Or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to remember where that was. I think you're right.
It seemed like that, and the whole idea of this mentally.
I have good memories of this. Yes.
Yeah, and we had talked about that perhaps the faux Vision, WandaVision, pardon the pun, would give the White Vision his memories. Right? We had talked about that, and so I was glad to see that. So I really loved. Once again, I think it was just a great blend of this, and not really, but one of the Princess Bride, where you do the Battle of the Wills, with the poison. It's just a little bit of that.
A little bit of iocane powder, that thing.
Yes, and so I like that. And then as far as the ending, pardon me if I go just off for just a little bit. I'll see you in my dreams, where all the summers have come to an end. I'll see you in my dreams, we'll meet and live and love again. I'll see you in my dreams, up around the river bend, for death is not the end, and I'll see you in my dreams.
That's a Madonna song, right?
Close. That's lyrics from I'll See You in My Dreams, the last song on Springsteen's last album. Yeah. And I did feel that this idea of, and I have those quotes about families forever, and the idea of, and I love the idea that, Vision looks at her and says, we've gone through this before. The great Harry Chapin, all life's a circle, sunrise to sunset. I mean, we'll go through this again. Battlestar Galactica, this has all happened before. It's all happened again. All that rolling together, and you're totally right. It's the acceptance, and you see this go away, and
well, I mean, this whole thing was about the 5 stages of grief. We've talked about this. We kind of picked up on a few episodes ago that that Wanda has gone through all the denial, anger, bargaining, and all and now she's hit this acceptance stage with this episode.
The only thing I was a little disappointed in, and it's stupid, but I was like, she's just going to get in her car again and drive off, because, she drove up in her car.
Right.
She's like, nope, just left the car there and hey, I'm out of here. I'm going to change my looks. I loved the idea that she knew she had to move on.
Right.
And she's taking, pardon the pun, a leap of faith that maybe in the future she'll see these, but either way, it's the right thing to do. I really felt that was a powerful way to end the episode. And like I said, if you didn't get the 2 credit sequences, it really would have wrapped everything up. So the credit sequences were kind of like extra bonuses, oh, and guess what? There's more to tell.
So on that question, I want to ask you a very quick question. So Do you think this episode would have been better off had they not aired those 2 bonus scenes? Do you think this would have been a stronger episode had they not had those 2 bonus scenes?
So this is where you have to pay your corporate overlords.
Right.
Right?
This is the price.
This is the price you pay.
Right. Magic has a price, after all.
Yes, it does. I see. I can see it both ways. That this way, I got my solid ending. Plus, they gave me, hey, look at this. It's coming up.
Yeah.
I don't know what have made the fans who are thirsting for more frustrated if you had not gotten this, would they? Because then they would have said, well, what about this? Because
what about a post-credit scene where
Marvel has taught us how to watch that.
Now it's almost like they have to. They're obligatory now at this point.
Even when they don't really have one, like the Captain America student film, right? Or the PSA,
right?
That will see something,
which I loved, by the way, in Spider-Man. At the end of Spider-Man,
it's funny, but it doesn't set up anything else. It's just kind of just for fun,
right?
I think you have a valid point, though. If you truly were trying to do a standalone miniseries, you could have made very little changes. Got rid of the post-credit and had said this is a one-and-done story of if this had been a comic, you would not have those posts. This would have been a solid one-and-done miniseries with a beginning, middle, and end.
Right. Because I don't think Watchmen, if I recall, Watchmen didn't have a post-credit scene at the end of the final episode, right?
No, but it did leave it very open-ended, though.
Yeah, it did. But my point is that it had a conclusion. Whether it was open-ended or not, there was a conclusion.
Yeah.
And you didn't get anything else afterwards. So as far as the show was concerned, that was the ending.
And, Lindelof in his interview said, I think it's very clear what happened. We told you, but it's not me to tell you what happened. But I think we set all the paces in place for what the story was and how it ends. So how do you feel about the ending and the 2 visions, Charles?
The visions, I thought, Nick's brought up a great point that it was very interesting to have a philosophical discussion between these 2 characters.
I loved it.
That is very atypical Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's, you expect these 2 to throw down. Now, granted, maybe for budget limitations, they decided, well, okay, these guys could just slugfest and destroy the town, or we could do something a little different. And since this show is a little different anyway, and that's what they came up with. It's like they're both very logical machines, for lack of a better term. They're androids. So it makes sense for them to look at the thing logically as opposed to let's throw down because one's evil, one's good. And I like the fact that the Vision reached out to the White Vision and said, okay, look, I understand that you don't have all your memories. You're essentially incomplete. So let me help you. And that ultimately became the resolution to dealing with the White Vision as a quote-unquote threat in this episode. So it was a very innovative idea. And I like the fact that it wasn't expected. I like it was something very unpredictable. And I appreciated that. And Paul Bettany just, was fantastic as always. And I'm so glad that with the way the White Vision was handled, I love the fact that this was confirmation that he is going to continue with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is obviously not the last we're going to see of him as a Vision, any Vision, if you will. Because otherwise, why would they do that, introduce a White Vision and then send him off without dealing with him once and for all, if they were going to use him again? Especially when you're going to get the Scarlet Witch once again.
And I love the slow pace of them. You see them walking and they go to the door and they tuck the boys in and they, one of them.
I was getting to that, yeah.
Okay, please. They continue. Don't want to steal your thunder.
You asked me my opinion.
No, I really, yes.
Okay. You had your shot.
You're absolutely right. Please.
All right. So yeah, that's the scene where, you get back to the house and they essentially re-enter the sitcom world for one final time. And you have this, like I said, this big red wave coming at you slowly as we see it going through the town and restoring things back to normal. And just with the ultimate, the last place that it stops being, of course, Vision and Wanda's house. So it sets up things, this very powerful sequence between Wanda saying goodbye to the Vision and the realization, they kind of make this mutual realization that they'll see each other again at some point, somehow. Like, no matter what happens, they'll be reunited. And Wanda saying goodbye to her children who essentially don't exist, Tommy and Billy, because they were creations of the Hex. So, and she thanks them for letting her be her mom. It's almost like, she's almost thanking the Hex for the opportunity to do this.
So beautiful.
To fulfill something that she didn't have in real life. So very, very powerful stuff. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very well done, very well executed.
Yeah, I totally agree, Charles. And just the slow pace of them,
right?
She kissing one, him kissing one, and I don't know if you noticed,
they swap.
When they're swapping,
yeah.
They touch hands.
Right.
Wanda and Vision touch hands.
Yeah.
And then they swap, and it was such a beautiful,
yeah.
And it
because we knew
rushed.
It was coming. We knew it was coming. We knew she would have to say goodbye to Vision. We knew she would have to say goodbye to the kids because they're part of the fantasy. So if you get rid of the fantasy, you have to get rid of the kids and Vision logically. But even though you knew that going in, if I'm sure a lot of people were in denial over this. They're like, oh, somehow they'll become real. But I'm looking at it like, no, they don't have to. This doesn't have to be like the happy Disney movie ending. This is a bit of a downer. She loses something, and because she has to have that acceptance. So therefore, she has to accept the reality of her situation if she's going to reach that acceptance.
And I think it was a perfect way to do it by putting the boys to bed and telling them how proud they were of them.
Yeah.
And you're right, Charles. When she says, "Thank you for choosing me to be your mother," and "Good night, boys," and they're, you don't see them being taken out of existence because you don't need to. You know that they're doing that.
Yeah.
Really powerful writing, really powerful filmmaking. I just really well done.
Yep. So, anything else about this topic?
Well, Charles, the only thing I wanted to point out was, when you had asked the question of would this episode have been better off without the post-credit scenes?
Yeah, what do you think?
Here's what I think. I think, at the end of the day, granted the whole obeying your corporate overlords on one side, but, the viewer himself or herself can choose. As in, it's like comics. If you want to end it there, for you, the story ends there. And you can totally ignore that the post-credit scenes ever happened.
Right.
And to you, that's your ending, and you can just close off. So
you can choose your own ending essentially because you can stop it right after the regular part ends.
Yeah, it's like folks who maybe have read a certain story arc of comics and don't want to read the reboot. And it's like, to me, the DC universe ended here, or the Marvel universe ended here, and what has happened in the future, that's up to them. In my head canon, my deal is, after Infinite Crisis happened, that's it. There was nothing else. That's the end of the story. Period. I totally, the hypothetical reader can say, the New 52 never happened. Rebirth never happened. So they can make that choice.
Right.
And I think it's the same thing here. Folks who don't want to pursue future MCU stuff, and to me, this is a one and done. You're welcome to do so, because I think they kind of were able to have their cake and eat it.
Okay.
Because
of the way it was structured.
Then. Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
All right.
Really well said.
Yeah, I think that's good. All right. Topic number 3. You okay, Jesse? You're breathing a little heavy there.
Oh, no, just sinuses.
Okay.
No.
Trust me, I totally understand that. Trust me.
And I may be a little verklipped.
Are you a little verklipped?
I'm just saying.
All right.
That was a very touching.
You old softy. All
yes.
right. So, topic number 3. Just want to make sure you're okay. Topic number 3. Let's talk about Monica, and we could talk about Pietro or Pietro, or fake Pietro, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And we could talk about Jimmy and Hayward, who I thought had a very nice face-off in this. And we can also throw in Darcy, who doesn't get to do much, but she does kind of save the day as far as stopping Hayward by ramming him with a funnel cake truck. So, ramming speed. So, we want to talk about that. So, we'll start with you, Jesse. As if you've got your tissue and you're all good, and you can dry those eyes of yours.
Yes. Darcy did not get enough
because even a Jesse can cry.
But oh, what a great one scene she had that you kind of little bit. I thought of Stargirl with the boy, right? Like, can I now be part of the justice?
Yeah.
That was great. Because I am not I'm very minimal in the Marvel Universe. Based on you guys, I knew what Monica was going to be. And you guys had talked about that, her getting her powers. And, you get, our villain showing totally just going to shoot these children, right? Like, just cold-blooded. And she steps up and, stops the bullets. She looks like such a badass.
Right.
And then I love that, where she goes, nice trick to, I can't remember if it was Billy or Tommy.
I think it was Billy because
Billy has
the Scarlet Witch powers, the Wiccan powers that he'll become.
And he goes, nice, you too. And this kind of, I really love that, she kind of, because we find out, in that fourth episode, right, that, her story, and she was there always on Wanda's side.
Right.
And I like the idea that Wanda and her have a final scene together.
Yeah, I thought that was important too.
Yeah, that, because remember they had said, once again previously, don't let them make you the villain. And he goes, maybe I am. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was nice that they had this connection. And even though I understand that Wanda's grief hurt a lot of people, and she did as much as she could. We even got, the Vision saying that you're going to fix it. You're going to put it and fix it as much as you can, right? So I like the idea that she kind of recognized her and they had that scene together. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the bonus scene, but, we got a great story of grief, but we also got a origin story of a new hero in the Marvel Universe kind of as a bonus, check.
Yeah.
And I really love that.
Yeah, it was. It's obviously setting up some things. Obviously setting up Captain Marvel 2, where we know that Monica is going to appear and be reunited with Carol. And I like the fact that we didn't really get an explanation about why she's beefing with Carol. That's going to obviously be played out in Captain Marvel 2, as it probably should. That's probably the better place for it. They set it up, that Monica has some resentment there. And I think that's going to be very interesting to explore. I think that'll add some drama to the movie. And obviously probably we'll get to see Monica fully becoming Spectrum or Photon or whatever they end up calling her. I'm hoping for Spectrum, personally. So, guys, were either of you, I don't want to get to Nick, but were either of you disappointed that Monica didn't fully embrace her superhero identity at this point, or were you okay with it being saved for the second Captain Marvel movie?
I feel, I think it's okay. It works because it probably will be expanded upon in the Captain Marvel sequel.
Okay.
But I do feel that Teyonah Parris's character was underserved in this episode. Okay. I think she wasn't given enough to do or enough to say or what have you in the grander scheme of things. Because if you are setting up your new hero and kind of a character to watch, if you will, you'd think you'd give her more screen time. And there's a lot going on, and she does get a payoff in the mid-credit scene, so there is that.
Right.
But I do feel that I'm sure there were folks that maybe felt that the character, that Monica and, just Teyonah Parris herself was superb in this, possibly deserved a little bit more. Granted, you are juggling quite a few characters, and it's a limited series. You only have 9 episodes, and the runtime is what it is. So you have to keep it as tight as possible, and maybe have to sacrifice certain things in order to keep it, as flawless as possible with your storytelling, so it doesn't get messy and you're not all over the place. So I will forgive them when it comes to that, but I guess because I just love Teyonah Parris and she's just fantastic, and so that's why maybe I'm a little bit sad for that reason. Jesse, what did you think about that?
So I kind of feel the same way about Darcy, right? Like I was really, if anyone got short shift, I
agree with you. Yeah.
I wish that she could. Of course, I think they explained it well. I don't do debriefs.
Debriefs are for the week. Yeah.
Yes. Though I certainly agree, I would have loved to seen a little more of her in an active role. But I think she's slowly going to become aware of her powers and what we're going to do. And I think they want to save that for
Monica,
the movie. Yeah, Monica, yes.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they want to save her for Captain Marvel 2 for this big moment where both Carol and Monica team up to defeat some bad guys, whatever bad guys they're facing in the second movie.
Yes,
but
I think so too.
But yeah. I agree with you, Nick. I think, that in the sense that Monica should have had more to do in this episode, but it's the final episode, and this whole series has the core of it is about Wanda and Vision.
Yeah, of course, it's in the title. Of course,
it's in the title. So and there was so much that really needed to be said about those two characters. So I agree that they probably had to sacrifice the attention to Monica. But I'm glad that they did, because I think the attention should have been on Wanda and Vision in this episode.
Totally agree.
It needed to be.
Very much so.
Otherwise, I think the whole thing would have fell apart if you not devoted enough time to that.
Oh, no, I mean, very much so. And, too...
But I agree with you, though, that in principle...
No, I mean, it's just I think, for narrative purposes, you kind of sometimes have to sacrifice, your supporting characters in favor of your leads. It makes total sense. And to address the giant speedster in the room,
let's talk about Pietro
or non-speedster in this case. Here's the thing. Okay, so finally we find out who the famous Ralph is, who apparently, I suppose, is
the husband of Agnes we never got to see.
Agnes's husband. But here's the curious thing: either. I wonder. I'm hoping this is a family-friendly term. I wonder whether Ralph has a thing for MILFs. Or whether Agnes likes them young, because
a little cradle robbing, maybe.
Yeah, because Kathryn Hahn is 13 years Evan Peters' senior.
That's not bad.
She's 47 and he's 34.
She gets it. I'm just saying.
No. Oh, totally. I mean, I said, and he, of course, evidently he has a thing he likes mature women, if you will. He has got a thing for MILFs, which is no problem. I'm totally with you, buddy. Other than that, the thing is, the whole Ralph Boner thing, it's like, boner.
Yeah.
I thought
they even did like a Beavis and Butthead kind of like
they did,
joke with that, and it just seemed kind of like, well,
that's childish.
That's kind of juvenile, I think, for what we're trying to do.
In fact, as I imagined the Beavis and Buttheads of the world going, you said boner, kind of thing. But it was, look.
Did it feel like a letdown? Because it kind of felt like a letdown to me.
Yes, and it also in defense of dear Christine Peruski, who was hoping beyond hope that this would be the real deal, the real McCoy, the Quicksilver.
Right.
She, I know she was majorly let down by it, and I have to admit, so was I. I see what they were doing because once again, you have to keep it extra tight, and you can't throw in mutants because folks like it's all about the magic. We'll get to mutants later.
Right.
But it did. I'm going to call cop out on this one. I really am. I do think it is a cop out, and maybe because they didn't know what to do. Maybe they were thinking to themselves, "Shall we do the mutant thing? Shan't we do the mutant thing?" And they said, "Okay, it's Ralph Boner." But
they had to reveal that it was going to. they had to reveal the mysterious Ralph at some point. So presumably they had that in mind, but it just wasn't really satisfying, I don't think.
Well, it was just like the mailman who never got any sort of resolution, which I was a bit sad about. I was, like you, Charles, I was hoping beyond hope that he would be something more than just the mailman. So that was a bit of a letdown. I found that was a bit of a cop-out too. And just a little bit of a tease, kind of the red herring of like, see the mailman? He's like, you don't have to worry about it. We're just messing with you. But...
Well, that's kind of like the potential thing that I was talking about at the beginning of our discussion, was that it almost felt like you could have done more with this.
Yes.
Like, you didn't have to be a red herring or, and then it didn't have to be a letdown. You could have done more with this.
Very much so. Very much so. I was let down because I'm a huge fan of speedsters, as you know, Charles. Loving the Flash. I have equal love for Quicksilver as well. And, it just really sort of saddened me that at the end of the day, all he is a guy who looks like Pietro and who is not Pietro. That's the whole thing. It's just like he happens to be an actor, apparently, who looks like Pietro. And it was just like, I wasn't pretty happy. I'm calling, as I said, I'm calling cop-out on this. What were your thoughts on that? Because I know you were also looking forward to this introduction of mutants into the MCU.
Yeah, I mean, this would have been a great opportunity. Again, I think it's just lost potential. You could have done something with this, but for whatever reason, they decided, no, we're not going to go that far yet. And consequently, it just, the introduction of fake Pietro, we ultimately get, and I'm presuming that now that the Hex is gone, that he's just a regular, normal guy again.
Yeah.
So... no speedster. Quicksilver's gone. Our hope of getting a Quicksilver, or at least a new actor playing Quicksilver, is apparently gone. Unless we get something in the Doctor Strange movie, like, oh, hey, here's another Quicksilver from the multiverse. Which could happen, granted.
Mm-hmm.
But as of right now, it's a little bit of a disappointment for me as well. What about you, Jesse?
So I view this a little different than you guys, maybe because I didn't have any expectation.
Yeah.
So Agatha is setting up this world, and so she takes with this magic beads, right? She has this unemployed actor take on a part.
Magic necklace. Yeah.
Yeah, to do this, to be the long-lost brother. With a sitcom trope, and he even says that, right? Like, I'm doing my role. I'm here being a bad influence to the kids and irritating your husband.
Yeah.
So, and I believe he isn't her husband. In other words, she just used that name for Ralph. There is not a husband in Agatha's world. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, in my head, it's just that Agatha needed a house nearby.
Right.
And it just so happened it was this guy's house.
Yeah.
So she took, whammied him, put the mind control necklace on, or whatever, the spell necklace, and just posed as his wife. It wasn't anything long term. It's just like, oh hey, you're going to be you're Ralph. You're this guy that I'm going to use to when I want to bring up a version of Pietro to fool Wanda. You're gonna be what I'm using.
And I think she's just using the name Ralph. She isn't even pretending that guy's her husband.
Yeah.
It's
just kind of a little sly in-joke to herself.
Right, exactly. Like, oh yeah. So I think you can only do so much heavy lifting, and so I think trying to adding mutants to the Marvel Universe, maybe asking a little too much of a miniseries. I understand why you want it and what we did, but I think this actually did a lot of heavy lifting on its own, right? We got Wanda's stages of grief. We're setting up a major supporting character for the Captain Marvel movie. We've kind of got Wanda moving her place with the Doctor Strange movie. And let's not forget, we've set up Agents of S.W.O.R.D. that is going to come soon, right?
Hopefully,
yes.
Hopefully, yes.
We want more Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy. Yeah, let's talk about Jimmy and Hayward real quick. I love the face-off between the two. You know that, and we got to see Jimmy like escaping from handcuffs. So not only can he now do card tricks, he can do he's a bit of an escapologist, if you will. Flourish, yeah, exactly. So
he really took the magic thing to the next level. I mean,
right.
that's why I can't wait for him to meet Ant-Man again and say, "See what I've learned in this space of time? I can do this now."
Well, hopefully, maybe we'll see, since Jimmy was in the previous Ant-Man movie, maybe we'll see him in Ant-Man the Wasp: Quantumania that we know is coming out, and maybe he'll have Darcy along with him.
It could be a great place to put her. Or Darcy comes in later on in Thor: Love and Thunder.
To do card tricks there, yes.
I think Darcy said, she might appear there alongside him, or as I said, there is also Thor: Love and Thunder coming along, so she could be there as well for that.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe both. Who knows? But, we'll see what happens. But anything else about this episode?
The only thing about Hayward, I thought, as I said, was rather disappointing, that he just turned out to be an evil suit and nothing more and nothing less. Just the guy with the plan who just wanted to just run amok. That was a bit of a disappointment, Charles. And, you had mentioned the fact of should we say, the regret or the ill feelings that Monica has towards Carol Danvers, a.k.a. Captain Marvel. I think it is very much that whole concept of Amy Pond, 11th Doctor, in the sense that she abandoned her best friend, i.e. her mom, Maria, when she had cancer and never returned. And I think that's what she still holds a grudge for that reason. But of course, it'll probably be addressed in the Captain Marvel sequel. But I do think it is that kind of Amy Pond, 11th Doctor of, you abandoned me.
Yeah. Or, like Amy says, why did you say 5 minutes?
That's right.
Yeah.
If you remember that from the 11th hour. Great episode if you watch a Doctor Who episode, that's a great one to watch. All right.
Agreed.
Yeah, I realize it's fan expectation. And that was something I was talking about earlier, if you remember. So I get that, the mutant thing is just like, oh yeah, it would have been great if they would have done that. And I think the Mephisto thing that we talked about, that theory that was very popular with a lot of people, was also that kind of fan expectation that, it would have been great. And that's where I get a little bit of my frustration, is that because as great as it was to finally see the Scarlet Witch in this final episode, how much of a bigger bombshell would it have been had the curtain been pulled back and you find out that, oh, hey, Agatha has been manipulated by Mephisto all along.
Or Nightmare, even, as a lot of
Or
folks
Nightmare, yeah, we've had other people speculate. So Chris from Colorado was a big fan of that one, I remember. So yeah, I want to give Chris his due on that. But so yeah, it would have been, how much more could it have been? So this is the part where I feel like it was lost potential. Like you could have really fooled people, like, oh, like come out of nowhere with this really big bad behind it all.
But I think that the difference is, you can still appreciate what you got.
Yeah.
And then, okay, I'm going to move aside now.
I agree.
And, I know you do, and that's what I'm saying. The difference between, I think, what you guys are feeling compared to what a lot I've read is there are people that are actually unhappy because it didn't meet their expectations versus being, oh, this was great, but I'm just a little disappointed because I was hoping for more. I was hoping for extra candy in my bag. I'm not unhappy with the candy I got. I just was hoping for a little bit more.
Yeah, there's disappointment. I agree. That sums it up perfectly, Jesse, that it's disappointment versus just all-out anger.
Yes, exactly.
And I think the anger is completely wrong here. It's entitlement.
Yes.
You can be disappointed with something, but to be enraged over it and going after actors about it, that it wasn't the way you wanted it in your head. Yeah. That's a little unfair, I think.
Right.
Also because I guess folks got so invested in this show and they really, they were hoping that it would meet that. And,
they're setting themselves up for disappointment and anger.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. Because they get so invested to the point to where if it's not that way, you're going to throw a temper tantrum.
Right.
And you're asking and, other things about the show. I think how amazing that you think about 6-7 weeks ago when we started doing this, right? And there was a lot of people well, okay, this is not what I want to watch.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they came back. But, I think this is a good example of, trust the storyteller and trust the process. This was not what I thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to be almost a parody of sitcoms totally.
Yeah.
But instead, this was just a mechanism to tell the story. And I think that when you think about the journey of going from Dick Van Dyke Show all the way to, Bewitched, and then Malcolm in the Middle, and then
Modern Family,
our Family Ties, all this thing, all the way up. And then to get us, we ended up with a full-fledged Marvel Universe show is a pretty cool journey that they brought us on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. So before we get into our fourth and final topic, is everybody, that as far as it being satisfied, were you satisfied with this?
Yes,
absolutely. All right.
Yeah.
I think so, and I think I am as well. So, all right. Topic 4, final topic. Let's talk those bonus scenes. So let's talk the mid-credit scene with Monica and a Skrull agent, and let's talk the post-credit scene with Wanda and Wanda, or Wanda and the Scarlet Witch, if you will, where she's having a little fun with the Darkhold. So, Nick, I'll go with you on this one. What did you make of those bonus scenes?
I was very, very happy because I will say, folks, I am that guy who loves his post-credit and mid-credit scenes. I will say that. And it is really kind of, the little extra topping on my sundae.
Yes.
Which was
the cherry on the top. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So I was very, very happy. I got my Marvel sprinkles. I was happy. And the first post-credit scene was great fun. The fact that there were folks that actually speculated that Skrulls were probably involved. There were folks who were speculating that. And it was great that we actually got that. And I had to actually remind one of my friends who does not speak English and is refusing to watch the TV shows. He only watches the movies. And I basically gave him a recap of WandaVision. Week to week, I've been sending him these long messages on WhatsApp of the recap of the episode.
Yeah.
And I had to remind him that Nick Fury is currently in space. Because he did not remember. He said, dude, did you not remember the post-credit scene from Far From Home? And so I basically had to remind him about that. So I love the fact that, both Talos and Nick Fury apparently want to meet Monica.
Yeah.
Because I have a feeling that the people she was referencing, that the Skrull was referencing, were Talos and Nick Fury. And
so you don't think it was one or the other? You think it's both?
I have a feeling it's both. I mean, or rather, we might see Talos with Nick Fury. I think it was maybe more a clear reference towards Nick Fury, because an old friend.
Because we know he's
Marvel.
in charge of a space station.
Exactly.
With it's being operated by Skrulls.
Not to mention, she did mention he was an old friend of Captain Marvel's, and we know that, of course, Nick and Carol go way back.
Right.
So and I'm going to be so happy to.
But so does Talos, presumably.
Yes, he of course. So that's why I think they'll both be present. And it makes me so happy because I love Sam Jackson to pieces, and I so can't wait to see him again. And so I was really, really excited about that post-credits. And the second one I thought was also a great nod to Doctor Strange, because we do see Doctor Strange doing exactly that kind of studying in his, should we say, corporeal. He leaves his body to study.
The astral form, yeah.
Exactly. He astro projects, correct. And so he's basically sleeping, and in his astral form, he's studying in Doctor Strange.
Right.
So I think that was a nice nod to it, that she's doing a similar deal. And but this, of course, is a book of darkness. So you think to yourself, she's reading one of the darkest books in all creation.
This can't be good, right?
Exactly. It cannot, hence, I think we will very probably get Dark Wanda for sure, and might actually very much be the villain in Doctor Strange. However, the fact that we hear the voices of her children, suddenly saying "Help me, help me,"
right,
might be the call to action to, I need a doctor, is there a doctor in the house? And so it might very well
Paging
be
Doctor Strange, Dr. Stephen Strange.
I was going Dr. Bombay, Dr. Bombay.
Yeah.
So I think it might very well be that, but I just loved it. I really, really loved the final scene just for that reason, because I'm a huge fan of the Doctor Strange franchise. I love the Doctor Strange comics. I love the movie. Benedict Cumberbatch is one of my all-time favorite actors. So I was super, super happy with it, and just so, so pleased with both post-credit scenes and what they'll set up, definitely.
Yeah. So were you disappointed that Benedict didn't make a quick cameo?
I was sad.
You know,
I would be a horrible liar if I said that I wasn't upset. I will admit.
Okay.
But at the same time, I've learned to be happy with what I'm given.
Right. Okay.
I'm like, this is this. I didn't pay for this. I kind of did because okay, Disney
you
Plus
subscribe to the
free.
service, right? Yeah.
But still, I'm like, okay, I'm happy with what I got. It's like, of course you can get more, but I've learned to settle for what I'm given.
Yeah.
Exactly, I appreciate it because what we got was a stellar show. So I'm not gonna cry buckets or go, no, Doctor Strange, where? I'm not gonna do that. But I'll be like, when's March 2022 coming up? Exactly. There's the man himself. There he is.
See, I'm here after all.
Exactly. Charles is waving a beautiful Doctor Strange Funko, and it's always wonderful to see. No. So I was totally happy with it. So I can't complain.
All right, Jesse, how about you?
So I liked seeing Jimmy Woo and kind of wrapping everything up, and that was I really liked about it. The whole idea of I was expecting more, like I was expecting something to be in the movie theater and not just see her turn into a scroll and kind of laugh. So I was a little disappointed with that. I was wanting something more.
What were you wanting? Do you know?
I don't know, but I'm thinking,
okay.
I'm thinking.
I don't know what it was, but I wanted more of it. Yeah.
Yeah, like I wanted to see Nick Fury, or I wanted to see something
meatier.
A little meatier. Now, the Wanda scene I adored. And I have a theory that's probably totally wrong, but it's optimistic in me.
Okay.
Is by using her astral self, therefore she's not going to be swayed by the darkness. That because it's not her physical body, that kind of is like putting the X-ray, the lead shield on you when you're taking the X-ray at the dentist.
You think it immunizes her, for lack of a better term?
Yes. So that's my theory, is that's why she's doing it. Now, we've already talked about it. I just knew that we were going to walk in and there would be Doctor Strange, working on something. We would just see him. And the idea is that way they didn't have to bring him to that spot. They could, by a set or CGI, have him look like in the cabin and saying, we're after you get your tea, we have a lot to work on or something.
Yeah.
Though I did love the idea of that she's there in the secluded place. There's a lot of talk about that this might be from the comics a hilltop or mountain that is known. I forgot. It starts with an H, right? There's something.
Or is it Wondragore?
It's Wondragore, yeah. Essentially. Yeah. That's a lot of fan speculation for that.
Yeah, but it was really nice to see. It's good to see Wanda moving forward. And the idea, it looks like she's at peace while still trying to do, as she said, I'm going to figure out these powers. Yeah. So I thought that was a really nice way to wrap it up.
Well, as for me, the first one with Monica, I love the fact that, we're getting set up for Captain Marvel 2. Love that. My only concern was there wasn't enough addressing what happened to the town and the town's people, more importantly.
True.
Because think about it. So Wanda has severely traumatized all these townspeople, not to mention their kids who apparently were locked up in bedrooms or something, unable to even be held by their parents.
Yeah, I think they're all asleep, right? I assume that Wanda had them asleep.
But see, that's just it. We have to assume there's no explanation for what happens. So, there wasn't a specific moment in this that was like, oh, Wanda just does something magical and erases their traumatic memories of this event. As far as we know, they've still got to deal with this. all
Yeah,
the
major damage
major.
control.
This is like she majorly effed these people up in the head, and just Monica is kind of this left going, okay, well, see you later, bye, and no accountability for it.
If this gets to Thunderbolt Ross, he's going to be furious.
Well, and I think
Nick
that's really well
furious.
said. One of the things I loved, Emma Caulfield,
Yeah.
right, the saying, "Hey, I've got a daughter. Maybe she could be friends with your boys."
Yeah, if you
if
like
you
that,
like that storyline,
yeah.
or she could be the school bully. Just anything that would get her active in the story, right? That,
something where she could hold her daughter again. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So all these people, like we were talking about when Vision goes, like during the Halloween episode, goes around town, and you see like the woman that was crying because she's stuck in this loop, and just the psychological trauma of this. I feel that's one thing that kind of frustrated me with this final episode is that it's left unaddressed. Because we wanted this really sappy ending with where Wanda gets her acceptance, and then just kind of gets to fly off to wherever, and just there's no accountability for that. Like, you caused all this damage. Well, what happens to you as a result?
Unless it gets addressed later on, like they did in Civil War.
Hopefully, but maybe like with the Sokovia treaties and all that, like you're talking about. I think maybe we'll find out some whatever ramifications happen out of this. But it just kind of something I felt was unaddressed and needed to be at least partially addressed.
I did not catch that, though I think that's a very valid and I think you could have, as she was flying out, kind of done a scene of the town with not necessarily red, but like blue or something, like a wave of power, and then show someone like acting a little more normal, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or like you get to see the parents being reunited with their kids, hugging, what have you, and we didn't get that. The second scene, the bonus post-credit scene, unfortunately, unlike Jesse, I take a rather more, I don't want to say negative view, I want to say experienced view, being a Marvel Comics fan. So essentially, what I see is Wanda as the Scarlet Witch now, because you notice we got to see her astral form was in the Scarlet Witch form, sucking up all this knowledge from the Darkhold. And it's this really dark, evil book. It's essentially like the progenitor of the Necronomicon. So it's a really bad book to be drawing from. And Wanda is just soaking everything up like a sponge, apparently. So, which doesn't really bode well for her mental state going forward. And because we did hear the voices of Billy and Tommy, presumably she wants to absorb all this dark knowledge as a way to bring her kids back. And I think that maybe this will be the setup that will ultimately lead to like a teenage version, at least, of Tommy and Billy being introduced as the Young Avengers, Wiccan, and Speed down the road.
Good point. Yeah.
So we'll see. Anything else about this episode? I know we talked a lot about it.
Last two things, Charles. When it came to damage control, it made me think, I wonder whether we could have seen a scene like a la X-Files where you see people in hazmat suits going around the town.
Damage control. Marvel actually has this unit called damage control that comes in.
Damage control, exactly.
Yeah.
And secondly, Cabin in the Woods, Sam Raimi, and The Dark Book. Need I say more?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be good. So if you're an Evil Dead fan or Army of Darkness fan,
since he's directing the Multiverse of Madness, they're giving him already the setup for Evil Dead. The Isolated Cabin in the Woods, The Dark Book. There you go.
All we need is Bruce Campbell, and we got it. It's there, right?
Yep, and he's been in Marvel movies before, so
Yeah, he was the wrestling announcer in Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man movie.
And also the usher in the second one,
Yes, he was. So I would be very surprised if we don't get Bruce Campbell again in Doctor Strange.
Oh, if Sam Raimi,
that's
always
his lucky
says
charm.
Campbell. That is his lucky charm, yes.
It's like Greg Grunberg for J.J. Abrams. You know he's going to be there.
Correct.
Right.
All right. So if there's nothing else, favorite quotes. Any favorite quotes we want to share?
So I have the two sentimental ones.
Okay, go ahead, Jess.
That Vision, we have said goodbye to each other before, so it stands to reason. And Wanda says, we will say hello again.
Right.
And then Wanda, a family is forever. We could never truly leave each other, even if we tried.
No.
Yeah, I loved both of those.
You forgot the final part of that, where she says, boys, thanks for choosing me to be your mom.
Well said. Yes, absolutely.
That's the real heartbreaker.
That is the heartbreaker. Well said.
All right. Nick, any quotes you want to share?
Okay, well, I mean, you guys did mention Darcy, and she does get the one line which is really, really cool, where she crashes into the thing and is like, "Have fun in prison."
Yes.
I thought that was hilarious.
If it wasn't on Disney, she would have dropped a mother effer right after that.
Yes, she would have. Yes,
she should have. Anyway.
It would definitely not surprise me. And then Agatha to Wanda, I thought was kind of an interesting one, where it's like, "Oh, this is awkward."
Yeah.
Party? Who are you going to choose, Wanda?
That was funny.
That was funny. I like that. I agree with that. Quotes of her that I liked really quickly was Agatha at the very beginning of the episode saying, "I take power from the undeserving. It's kind of my thing." And also Tyler Hayward to Jimmy Woo, which I thought was a pretty good line, where he says, "You could have been a part of that victory, Jimmy, if only you had had a little more vision."
Nice.
And lastly, Vision to White Vision, where the Vision says, "I'm not the true Vision, only a conditional vision." And the White Vision replies, "I request elaboration." I think a lot of people were like, "I request elaboration" for this episode.
I have a feeling it might end up in people's conversation.
Oh, I think that will. I think you'll see that meme a lot.
Yes.
I agree.
With the White Vision saying, "I request elaboration."
I betcha.
I'm calling my shot on this, so we'll see. All right, so rating. What's everybody's ratings, guys?
Jesse, do you want to start?
Sure. I recognize all the disappointments and the flaws, but all I know is I feel like this was a really solid 9 hours, 9 episodes of TV. Is absolutely not 9 hours, but this is just really good. So I'm going to give it 10 out of 10 cups of tea.
Ooh,
I was really happy.
Very strong
with
rating
this.
from Jesse.
Yeah, all the way that they did, and I get all the reasons that other people may be disappointed or want more, but I just was really happy with how they did this.
Okay, Nick, how about you?
I'm going to give this 9.5 out of 10 funnel cake trucks.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Well, I'm probably more going to go along with Nick on this one because I think there was some things that weren't addressed, like the trauma to the residents of Westview, for one thing. Stuff that just kind of nagged at me a little bit. And then, again, the lost potential that I thought that maybe if we had tried to push the boundaries a little bit more, we could have. But even though I accept what we got. So I'm going to give this one 9 out of 10, Ships of Theseus.
Nice. But I see, I hate to beat the dead horse, as they say, right? But
I'm going to beat it.
You're giving this 9 out of 10. That is a strong. You loved this episode and this series, and so versus the other people that like. This was a waste of time. I'm so unhappy with this. You're like,
well, because they're idiots, Jesse.
Why do you hate life?
Why are you paying attention to these idiots?
No, I'm
cynics.
complimenting you.
Yeah.
Right, and hearing that this is great stuff. Great stuff.
Some people are just going to be miserable, miserable SOBs, and you can't do anything about it, unfortunately.
There you go.
Believe me, I've tried. So yes. All right. Phantom Zone news, I don't really have anything unless, Nick, you have anything to go about.
No, nothing.
So you saw Lois and Clark was renewed already?
You mean Superman Lois, yeah, that got picked up.
Renewed,
yeah, they already got season 2 after the first episode, which is
so I think that's amazing.
Yeah, which is great. Because apparently the streaming numbers for the first episode were huge.
Yeah, they were astronomical.
So that's a good sign. And
it's a really good.
Stay tuned as we talk more Superman Lois. Just saying. All right. We did get some audio feedback from someone apparently that Nick is familiar with, a guy named Ray Gizmondo.
Great guy, great guy.
So he sent an audio form. So I'm going to let's leave a little space, say right here as we listen to Ray's feedback. I don't know if you've listened to it or not, but
I haven't had the chance yet to listen to it.
But it was very solid, but it's also 8 minutes long.
Okay.
So we'll just leave a little space and let's just take a little 3-second pause so we can splice this into our episode.
Hello, Fandom Zone. This is Ray dropping in some thoughts for the WandaVision finale. I have been listening to your podcast. I'm a big fan, I'm going to say it now, of DJ Nick and Happiness in Darkness. So he's actually brought me on board. I thought I'd just check out the discussion in your show, and it's fantastic. The Fandom Zone, I love the discussions with WandaVision. I do listen to another podcast about the TV show, and you guys sometimes have differing opinions. It's really great to hear both of them kind of play off each other. So anyway, I left some feedback for TV Podcast Industries, the other show I listen to, and I'd like to leave some for you guys. So much to really discuss in here, so I'm going to try and condense it. Overall, I really did enjoy this episode. I loved how the season ended. I loved how the series kind of ended. There bloody better be a season 2, because there's some loose threads a bit, some things that kind of were left I would have loved to have seen wrapped up, and that mainly being, I guess, the whereabouts of the White Vision. The interaction he had with Conditional Vision and the talk of the ship of Theseus was very entertaining, especially even their fight as well. I love the physicality of them. They're very powerful beings, but the Conditional Vision seemed to have instilled his memories, his data, or at least opened up the data in White Vision's memory banks. So he's less of, I guess, a robot and a Terminator, so to speak. Whether or not he'll have those same emotions as Vision, I don't think so, but we'll have to wait and see. But I would have loved to have seen where he ended up. I mean, he shot off after interacting with Conditional Vision, and I would have loved to see him towards the end somewhere. Also, the big scene for me was this sacrifice, and we get it early on when Agatha kind of presents it, and Wanda was trying to get rid of the bubble, the hex. She would have to sacrifice Tommy, Billy, and Vision, Conditional Vision, in order to free everyone from the hex. It's a great thing, I think, to set up, and especially since this being the last stage, I guess the grieving process and acceptance. It made it all the more poignant when Vision and Wanda put Tommy and Billy to bed. Very sad. It was quite an emotional moment there. I thought it was very well done, very well acted from Wanda, from Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany. Just fantastic stuff there. Also, as well, the farewell with Vision. Who knows what he'll be next? A memory made real. We'll see him again, perhaps, in the White Vision. Again, I don't think he'll have the emotion that this Vision has, but he'll live on, at least in physical form and in memory form in that Vision. So yeah, really sad. It kind of really wraps up, and it's summarized the Vision's arc in all of the MCU, which was really cool. So very big moment there for me. I thought it was a very impactful moment. The fighting was fantastic. I mean, I love the fact that Agatha was sucking in, drawing in the power, the chaos magic from Wanda, and I loved the way that Wanda kind of in the end defeated Agatha by turning against her, the magic that she learned of the runes. So that was really cool. I thought that she was going to do something along the lines of the Ang Lee Hulk, and she was just going to give too much of the chaos magic to Agatha, and I thought Agatha was just going to be overwhelmed, similar to Nick Nolte's Absorbing Man with Eric Bana's Hulk. I thought that was the case, but I'm glad that I was mistaken. I'm glad that I was surprised, and a nice little clever touch with the runes. Monica's powers was really great to see the kids as well, kind of use their powers too, was cool. Very sad to see them go. Maybe we'll see them again, I don't know. But yeah, also I guess one of the immediate inconsistencies, but kind of justify it with headcanon was the punishment for Agatha. So Wanda converted her to stay in character as a nosy neighbour. But Eve and I, my partner, while we were both watching, were wondering, hang on, but she's kind of reverted everything back in Westview. I guess in this instance, she's kind of just kept that spell for Agatha, and so she's going to live her days as some kooky, crazy, nosy neighbour acting like she's from the 50s in a very modern world. I guess that's how that's going to happen. That's going to play out. Finally, just the end credit scenes. We got 2 of them, which was fantastic. Both of them, unfortunately, didn't pay off for me what I was hoping to see. I was really hoping to see Doctor Strange. I'm sure you guys were as well. He was even mentioned here. I love how the Scarlet Witch is even more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme. I mean, she's full-on kick-ass. But I would have loved to see Benedict Cumberbatch just, make an appearance, say what's going on, what's all this magic, what's happening. But we didn't get to see that. The first end credits scene was cool in a way, but mind you, let it be known that my partner who watched it has been watching the series with me and is not a comic book fan. These end credit scenes meant nothing to her, so unfortunately no payoff for my partner, and a little payoff for me, because we see the scroll and a mention of, I'm assuming it's either Talos or Nick Fury, he wants to see you. So I'm assuming Monica gets to go to space, and she's somehow linked with Captain Marvel 2, which I can't wait. I mean, they don't have the best relationship at the moment, as alluded to in the earlier episode. She's not the happiest. She's not the happiest with Carol, but that's stuff for some meaty drama. The second end credit scene, it kind of baffled me a bit. Again, it was like, there's got to be a second one, and there's got to be Doctor Strange. He wasn't there again, so I was a little deflated again. It was kind of a bit of a nothing one for me. So we see Wanda astrally project herself, similar to Doctor Strange, poring over the dark hold, kind of learning her magic, learning her craft, and seemingly trying to, or having memories of her sons, Tommy and Billy, and I'm assuming she's working on something to find a way to bring them back. This would, if anything, have some sort of lead into the multiverse, I guess. Maybe she does find that in the dark hole. She finds out how to traverse multiverses, and that's how we get the bleed into to Doctor Strange too. But for me, it was I would have wanted something at the end credit scene, like something even more punchy. But any end credit scene I'll take. But it wasn't what I was expecting, and I guess it was just a lead in to Doctor Strange 2. So anyway, I can't wait to hear you guys, Jesse, Charlie, and Nick, what you have to say. It's been fun listening to you talk about WandaVision, and I'm glad I can actually send something over to you, and hopefully it will be of some worth. Anyway, keep at it. We've only got then a week now until Falcon and Winter Soldier, so different brand of series. I'm getting pumped for it as well, but I'm kind of already getting nostalgic and kind of missing WandaVision already, so so I might have to rewatch it again because it was so good. I really did enjoy it. I'd give this my favourite episode of the season was the second last one. I know you guys, you gave it high ratings, but you weren't too hot over it. I was just red hot over that one. I'd give that one a 10 out of 10. I'd give this one a 8.5 to 9. I think it was still very good. It's just a bit annoying to leave those things hanging, but hey, I mean, that's storytelling. They can't fix up everything, and if we're looking at seasons and movies to explain stuff, well, there you go. So so high rating from me. Anyway, I'll catch you later.
Wasn't that a great feedback, everybody? I loved it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes.
Ray, you rock. And I actually have to say, though, I had Ray on my podcast a few times. He's a fantastic chap. A great Aussie from the land of Oz, of course, and just a really, really super guy. And I love his enthusiasm. I know he's been listening quite religiously to the Fandom Zone. So big shout out to my buddy Ray.
Yeah, he said some very nice things about us. So I want to say thank you, Ray. Glad you're listening. Really appreciate you listening. And glad you've been enjoying our WandaVision discussions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Hopefully you'll stick around as we talk other shows. And we are indeed going to be talking The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so you definitely want to stay tuned for that. Now, we also did get some feedback from our usual 3 people writing in. So, Nick, are you able to help me out on this one?
Yes, indeed. If you want to take Holly and I'll take David K. Proctor.
That sounds good. Let's go with that. Okay, so Holly Mack writes in, Holly from Wisconsin writing in. Hey, Charles, Jesse, and Nick. Hi, Holly.
Hey, Holly.
Love hearing from you. Man, what a wrap-up. What can I say? Jimmy for the win, sneaking the cell phone and making sure that Hayward gets what's coming to him. The showdown with the Visions and Agatha and Wanda were great. Mid-credit scene with Wanda meeting the agent in the movie theater and finding out that a friend of her mother wants to meet her up in space. Could that friend have the initials of NF? Possibly. The last credit scene had me scratching my head slightly. At first I thought it was the cabin that Tony had, but that wasn't the case going further into the cabin. Though the other Wanda had me scratching my head. Wanda then hearing one of her boys saying they need help. She's on her way, no doubt, and I wonder if that will be a lead-in to the next Doctor Strange movie. Yes, it will. Just have to wait and see. I'll wrap it up here. Holly from Wisconsin.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you, Holly.
Yeah, Holly's been great, obviously. She stuck with us the entire season. We discussed WandaVision, and we really appreciate her as well. So
Definitely. Big thank you to her, and big shout out to the Five-ish Fangirls.
Yes, exactly. We love the Five-ish Fangirls, don't we?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So you want to read Dave Proctor's?
Yes, indeed. So Dave starts with all in caps, "Oh my goodness!"
Yes.
Exclamation mark. This episode was great. The series was phenomenal. I know it is a limited strand. I was initially sad at that, but then I realized that the story will continue and there won't be a series that grows stale and perhaps worse. Good point. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did a fairly good job, but got increasingly hard to stay coherent and relevant.
Yep.
True enough.
Yep.
I see this as a story that if it had been a movie, would have been rushed and compressed. As a series, it was free to give as much detail and foreshadowing as intended, and yet not be contained in a restrictive box. I love it. This could be a new model for storytelling, and Will has ensured my continuing subscription to Disney. I'm sure Disney is very, very thankful for that, Dave.
Thank you for your money. That's what they're saying.
Yes. I had considered giving it up in favor of another platform. Now I need both. Is there financial
Welcome
assistance?
to my world, Dave.
And in fact, he poses the question, is there financial assistance for media addiction?
Yeah, I might need that too, Dave.
I hope other storylines go to this form. Imagine a network that could make miniseries for Star Trek or Doctor Who exploring areas of their universe that don't need a whole series but left us hanging. Eighth Doctor, Khan in World War III, Life at the Xavier School, or perhaps Voyager, The Return to the Federation. Comic books mastered this long ago, and now with so many TV choices, perhaps it's time. Amen to that.
Yep.
I trust you guys to have analyzed this story in an excellent manner, and I just wanted to hypothesize on this wonderful future that is within our grasp. Hopefully they don't follow the NASA model and show us the possibilities and then just let it peter out. Not that we aren't doing great things, but had we stayed on pace, we could have had a much bigger presence in space and perhaps have visited in person our next planetary neighbor. Yes. What is next for the Fandom Zone? I'm anxious to find out. Keep up the great work. Thanks for the ride. Thank you, David K. Proctor.
Thank you, Dave. And
Thank you, Dave.
We'll talk more about what we're going to be discussing next very, very soon. So hang in there just a few more minutes, okay? Yeah, and I think all of us, being Doctor Who fans, would love an Eighth Doctor miniseries.
Oh, yes. I believe...
with Paul McGann returning as the Eighth Doctor, of course.
I believe Jesse had actually put a tweet about that some time ago.
Well, if nothing else, it would help fill those gaps between seasons of Doctor Who.
Yes.
You would think the BBC would jump on that, but maybe now, after seeing stuff like this, maybe they'll start thinking about that.
It could get those wheels turning.
Well, and
they should.
Not to be off on a tangent, right? But there are creative people that would love to play in the Doctor Who universe, but don't want to do for all seasons. So you could find creative people and go, okay, do you have a proposal for a 3 or 4 episode miniseries or whatever you could do?
You could do a unit series. You could do, stuff with other companions that, like maybe, you could bring back Ace or, like Martha Jones or whomever, Donna Noble.
Wonderful.
Yeah. There's a lot of potential there. And you could say that about a lot of things. All right.
Yes.
Last but certainly not least, we have the Batman himself, Chris from Colorado.
Hey, Chris.
It's the Batman. I'm Batman. Saying, hey, Phantom Zone Squad. Well, hey, Chris.
Hey,
Boy, was this finale quite the roller coaster. I'm a little bummed that none of the crazy theories from fans paid off, but that's not the show's fault. It was still a great episode.
Well
I
said.
have a few theories for what's to come. In the post-credit scene where when we see Wanda in that very Thanos-esque end of Infinity War cabin, she sublet that, I guess. I believe that could be the mountains of Wundagore. That's something we speculated as well. I got goosebumps from when the camera pans and you can hear Doctor Strange's theme play and pans to Wanda reading the Darkhold. Now, I didn't hear the Doctor Strange theme. I'm going to have to go back and listen to that. Given that the headshot was of Wanda astral projecting herself, reading the Darkhold, I think they could be setting up some version of Chthon. Since the elder god Chthon in the comics is the god of chaos, is the one that wrote the Darkhold, it makes sense that he or an amalgamation of him and Nightmare could be the big bad in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Mm-hmm. Could be.
He's really focused on Nightmare. He really wants Nightmare.
Please, Disney, give this man his
Nightmare, please. You're killing him. Another theory I'll throw out there is when Wanda hears her son's crowd, I think it's actually Chthon Nightmare calling Wanda so he can use her magic to cross over into our dimension.
Oh, okay.
Favorite quote is when Wanda says to Vision, I have been a voice with no body, a body but not human, and now a memory made real. Who knows what I'll be next? That's a great quote, right?
It is, yes.
So points to Chris for using that one. This episode gave me all the feels. Massive tearjerker, especially when the ending when Wanda was saying her goodbyes. I give this one 9.5 ships to Theseus. We're at a point there, I guess.
Yeah.
We're simpatico. This show should win all the Emmys. Thank you, Phantom Zone Cast, truly, for doing all that you do. So fun getting to theorize with you guys. I had a blast. Well, thank you, Chris.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
Thank you for doing all you do by listening to us and supporting the show and writing in.
Greatly appreciate it.
So we thank you as well. Hope to see you at Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Well, yes, you will. You guys take care, stay healthy. Cheers, Chris from Colorado. So thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
And thanks for supporting us all season as well.
Yeah, I'm doing the devil horns for Chris right now, as he is wont to do.
Yes.
You rock.
Exactly. You rock, Chris. All right. You rock, Batman. If you want to be like, well, hey, Ray, Holly, Chris, or Dave Proctor, you definitely do. So write to us at Phantom Zone Cast on Twitter, Phantom Zone Cast on Facebook, Facebook, the Phantom Zone Podcast, or Instagram at Phantom Zone Podcast. So that would be great if you reach out to us there. Please do, because obviously we got more in the works. And Jesse, where can they reach you?
Well, first off, I need to give a shout out to you two fine gentlemen.
You take that back.
No.
How dare you,
because
sir?
the beauty of On Demand,
Yeah.
I am now going back and seeing. I had not watched The Boys Season 2. So I'm doing this, and who do I have to be my companion? Is you two guys. As I watch an episode, I get to go and listen to y'all talk about it. So the beauty of the internets, you guys are still there for me. So I just want to thank you both. And there is, if you've just discovered Watchmen or Krypton, in our past we've talked about
Stargirl.
Yeah, Stargirl. So really, really check those out. Charles and we'll talk in a few minutes about Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast that he and I have been doing for a long time.
7 years.
That is a joy for us. I do the How Many podcast, the only podcast on the internet that counts. With our buddies for the Southgate Media. I have Bob, Scott, Jr., and Gary and E, where we take a pop culture topic and debate it and kind of go over it. So that's there. And then Set Lusting Bruce, where I talk to fans of Bruce Springsteen's music from all over the world. This March is Friendship Month, so I have a whole set of episodes where people that have bonded, similar to like Charles and I over Titans comics, and Nick and I through Doctor Who and other podcasts. Well, these are all people that have bonded through Bruce Springsteen music, and they're sharing their story. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope you guys will check that out. I'm on Twitter at Jesse Jackson DFW. You can find Jesse Jackson on Instagram and Facebook, but mostly I'm on Twitter. Nick, don't you do a couple of shows?
Yes.
Did I give you enough time this time to drink?
He's adorable.
Yes, you did. Funny you should mention that, Jesse. Well, first off, when it comes to me, if country music is your speed, I do host the Whiskey and Cigarettes show where we play today's country, traditional country, and everything else in between. If you'd like more information about that and where to tune in, you can visit our website. That's whiskeyandcigarettesshow.com. Podcast-wise, if superhero movies are your speed, I do host Happiness and Darkness, a superhero movie podcast, where we're discussing all the movies from all the major publishing houses, be it Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Image, and more. If you'd like to join us on there, you can discuss your favorite superhero movie. You can send us an email, happinessanddarknesshow@gmail.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and the Instagram. Also, a gold standard, the Oscars podcast, where with the lovely ladies that answer the names of Rachel Friend and Zan Sprouse, we're reviewing all the films that won the Oscar for Best Picture from 1927's Wings to the present day. And of course, folks, if you'd like to join us on there, discuss your favorite Best Picture, you can email us at goldstandardoscars@gmail.com. Next month, God willing, we should be having both Jesse and Charles for 2 different episodes. So it's definitely going to be some great fun for sure. And so definitely check Gold Standard the Oscars podcast out as well. And what about you, Charles?
Well, Nick, as for me, of course, at Charles Skaggs on Twitter, at Charles Skaggs on Instagram, or Facebook, Charles Skaggs in Hilliard, Ohio, and my blog of geeky things.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Damn good coffee and hot. We're talking about all the stuff we talk about here in the Phantom Zone. So comic book news, sci-fi news, all my other podcasts for Southgate Media, including the aforementioned Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast, where we're going to be discussing this week, we're going to be discussing The Impossible Planet / The Satan Pit from the 10th Doctor David Tennant era with Hannah Scarappa. And then next week, some DJ Nick guy comes to join us to discuss Daleks, Invasion Earth 2150 AD.
With a legendary Peter Cushing.
With a Peter Cushing, yes, Grand Moff Tarkin himself from Star Wars as the Doctor, or at least they call him Doctor Who for some reason in the movie. So that'll be coming up soon. Then Ghost with the Twin Peaks podcast, they do with Zan Sprouse, where we talk all things Twin Peaks, David Lynch. And we just finished talking The Straight Story, the G-rated David Lynch film that was released by Disney Studios, of all studios. And that was interesting. And then this coming week, we're going to discuss On the Air, the pilot episode of that. That was directed by David Lynch for the very, very, very short-lived ABC TV series that lasted all of 3 episodes. So some great Twin Peaks actors in that. Definitely in our wheelhouse, and I hope everybody comes to check that out. And then last but certainly not least, Drunk Cinema, where Zan Sprouse and I, we enjoy adult beverages, adult conversation. We watch a lot of movies that we both really, really enjoy. Have a ball doing it. We just finished over this past weekend. We discussed for episode 007, we discussed Goldfinger, the 1964 James Bond classic, starring, of course, Sean Connery as James Bond. So if you're a Bond fan, you definitely want to check that out. And then coming up next is going to be very interesting, as Zan and I are going to go all the way back, way back to the 1950s to discuss Forbidden Planet.
Ooh.
Very nice.
A 50s science fiction classic, which features Leslie Nielsen, a very young Leslie Nielsen, like 3 decades before the Naked Gun Leslie Nielsen, or Airplane for that matter. So this should be very interesting, needless to say. So we're kind of getting our 50s sci-fi on. So of course there will be lots of kind of Mystery Science Theater 3000-like references, I'm sure. So stay tuned for that. Guys, this has been a ball. I've really enjoyed talking this with you. And coming up next, Episode 209, as we're leaving the Marvel Cinematic Universe and we're going to the Arrowverse. We're doing our own multiverse here as we jump over to discuss the first 3 episodes of Superman and Lois.
Yay.
So we're going to be turning this into a 1-week only event right before we discuss The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So we're going to spend like a half an hour. This is what my plan is. Do a half an hour discussing the pilot, a half an hour discussing Heritage, the 2nd episode, and a half hour discussing the third episode, which I haven't even seen yet, The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Okay.
And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this because I do think that, DC is my jam, and I want to spend a lot of time talking about the casting of Superman and Lois and
Tyler Hoechlin
how these
and Elizabeth
characters,
Tulloch,
how they compare to the past, and I just, spoilers, I really enjoyed these first two episodes.
Oh, same here.
I just think they're really, and there's a lot of things to talk about. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to next week.
Yeah, this will be a very good discussion because those first two episodes so far have been very, very strong in my opinion.
I agree.
Agreed. Yes.
So, guys, any final thoughts before we sign off?
I just wanted to echo what Jesse said earlier on. An email that I once sent to you guys kind of introduced me to the two of you, and then it's crazy to think that now I'm here, talking to, sharing and podcasting with two wonderful folks that I'd listened to for so long. It's kind of
and now you're regretting it totally, right?
I am. Yes, I'm actually having to pay for therapy, but
Yes.
those are the breaks. But I'll bill you my therapy. I'll
There
send
you
you guys
go.
my therapy.
Please do.
But no, I'm just incredibly thankful. It's kind of like I feel a little bit like Ripper Owens when he joined Judas Priest. So it's I feel really comfortable about that. So yeah.
Well, I think of you as Niels Lofgren joining the E Street Band. So, yeah. You're brilliant in a solo career and brought in. All I'm going to say is, and I don't want to be ugly, but to everyone who were unhappy with this series to begin with, to quote the boss, have a little faith. There's magic in the night, or at least in Marvel Universe. This has been a great ride, and I just have enjoyed. I've enjoyed watching it, and even more so knowing that on Sunday afternoons I'm going to get to sit down with the two of you and discuss it has been a lot of fun. And I don't know if you guys remember, but I had told you at the beginning, okay, I'm not doing any speculation on this. I'm just going to watch. Boy,
We
that
totally
didn't last
torpedoed
long,
that,
did
didn't
it? We did.
Out the window. Woo!
Yeah. So, yeah, thank you,
Our
Charles.
plan worked perfectly.
This was really, really a lot of fun, and and I'm excited, and I love the perspective as you guys being so heavy into the Marvel Universe. Things I didn't understand, you guys expanded, thinking a different way, and this has been a blast. So thank you both so much.
Well, thank you, Jesse. And so now we get to turn the tables a little bit because now you get to embrace your DC knowledge a little bit. Although yours is pre-1985, so we'll see how it goes. But
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Jesse gets to get his DC groove on, which is always good.
Exactly. So, guys, this has been a lot of fun. So, everybody, come on back. Episode 209, the first 3 episodes of Superman and Lois. If you haven't seen them, go check them out, and then come on back as we discuss all 3 of those episodes right here on the Phantom Zone podcast. Goodbye, everybody.
Joe.
Goodbye.